It's simple, but it's not easy. I mean, and most things. I mean, most people think, "Oh, I need this special trick." No, like it's almost just the simple fundamentals, but people almost never do the simple fundamentals. And the simple fundamental or thing to understand is who I am is just who I say I am and my value. It's not based on my boss. It's not based off the cute girl at the bar. It's not based off of my brother or my friends. Like,
Rudy, you speak powerfully about resilience and confident communication. From a mindset point of view, what do you think or what do you believe is the most common invisible barrier that hold people back from truly connecting with others or even themselves when they speak?
first, what a wonderful question. So excited to be here with you, Daniel. And I love how you frame the question because I really do think it comes down to mindset. Most of the times, it's not something physical or emotional. It tends to be just a mindset that we have that we can almost switch. And once that understanding happens, our speaking and communication can really unfold. A very common thing I believe that holds people back is just self-doubt. People don't give themselves enough credit. They don't think that their stories are interesting enough or that what they have to share is worthwhile. And unfortunately, many people, I myself, have felt that almost an imposter syndrome that we may be not as valuable or our perspective not as relevant as it may be. But once you take that step of actually taking what feels like a risk of sharing your perspective, sharing your emotion or history or experience, you will actually be surprised how often it can be valuable to others.
I can relate a lot to that, to be honest. In fact, this podcast came from there. One of the main reasons why I didn't do it by myself. If I was like, who's going to listen to me? I'd rather just listen to others. And people have told me, hey, you should have just, just like solo episodes. Like, I'm good for now. But I can tell that. I can tell that it takes time. But I guess since you have coached many people, you have helped many people. What do you think that this is happening? Why do you think that it seems like a common trend that most people, or let's say many people, have that limiting belief, that mindset that maybe what I think or my opinions or my thoughts or my ideas are not worth sharing or nobody will even listen to them.
That's a good analysis. I think my diagnosis, why this problem is so pervasive, I don't even want to call it a problem, but just why so many people feel either uninspired or not confident enough to speak or communicate. A lot of it has to do with social media and just this technological era that we are in. Because especially, I mean, I'm 33, and at least with my generation, with millennials and below, I at least still remember a time without communication as far as texting or internet or phone. But growing up around so much of this, everything being so screen based, there's not enough person based communication. And it's completely understandable why that it can be terrifying to people. It's not something people do really often. When you think about the common conversations people have or interactions with people, it tends to be maybe one-on-one with family or friends, people you're already confident around. But to speak in front of strangers or give a presentation, that is out of the norm for most people. If I were to ask you, are you confident when you walk?
Sure, yes, I would
Sure,
say
right?
yes.
People don't even think about that, right? Or brushing your teeth. I mean, think about how many times you've brushed your teeth in your life, right? Hundreds, maybe hundreds of thousands of times, the amount of steps we've taken. And we oftentimes forget that there was a point in time, maybe tying your shoelace is a better example, where we didn't know how to tie a shoelace, or we did not know how to walk. Like all of us had to take that first step, literally and figuratively. But with speaking, most people just haven't had the practice necessary to it. It's something I believe everyone has within them, but it's just a matter of practicing and just being open to trying, failing, and going those steps forward.
I think it's very interesting because even one thing I've come to realize, at least observing people in different environments, whether in an office setting, with friends, or in a networking event, you'll see that people even have the self doubt of speaking up. And I'm not talking about in front of an audience being a public speaker, but even when you are in a meeting at work, somebody, hey, I'm not entirely sure if my idea is valuable here. I don't want to, feel like I'm not enough or I'm dumb or I just have this limited belief. But you can also see among group of friends that nobody wants to make a decision. Something like, gee, we all, it's like we double question. I mean, we question ourselves too much. We overthink. Even with our partners, we must say, well, I'm not entirely sure if how she's gonna take it, how he's gonna take it, and it comes down to trusting ourselves, trusting that what we know and what we do is right. But have you found a way, either for yourself and your background, because clearly you are a successful speaker and a magician, based on your own experience and based on the people that you have to help and coach, what is a trick or even a mindset shift that helps some people to start trusting themselves more when it comes to speaking up and sharing the message that they have inside?
Great, man. Great questions. Great questions. Yes, I think first it's recognizing the reality because what the situation you presented is so common. You're in a board meeting, let's just say, or in a committee meeting, and you want to say something, want to speak up, but there's that part of you that says, "Oh, should I?" There's that sometimes the butterflies in the stomach, or just the self doubt. And I think the reality is that ground zero, yes, there is a little bit of risk because there are sometimes times you can speak up and it can be wrong, or it just can't be relevant, or you try and make a joke, it falls flat. There is that risk. But I think the reality as well is that risk is not as large as people think. If you just think of another time, like when was the last time someone else did something crazy? Most people forget within a day. Like the punishment is actually really quite low if you even get it wrong. So first is just realizing that sure there's risk, but it's actually very, very minimal. It's actually pretty small. Another thing too, I think as a trick or a mindset shift is to, I guess, minimize how intense of a step forward this is. One of the detriments I think of social media, which is both a detriment and something exceptional, is that we see so many TED Talks, for example, these incredible speakers or comedians filling up stadiums just on their public speaking alone. And it feels like such a distant goal. When in reality, those are really the extreme cases, those are the outliers. All it really takes, and what I advocate a lot, is not to be the next award winning speaker, but how can you just be 5% better, 2% better? If you say like a lot or say can you just reduce that by just a little bit? Can you add one joke throughout the meeting? Can you at least add one input? And it all starts by taking small steps. For example, if someone's in that meeting, just challenge yourself just to ask a question. Raise your hand. I'm going to just, no matter what, I'm going to ask a question. And then you can start formulating, okay, can I form better questions? Hey, maybe add a little joke, right? But it just to make those incremental changes. No one changes from one day to the next that great.
Interesting. One thing that I've been thinking about a lot is identities, right? It's almost the kind of obsessive way. I've been thinking about it quite a bit. It's almost the person that we are for ourselves. And if we grew up in an environment where, at least I'll give you a little bit of background for me, just to kind of give people context of why my question is that I grew up in an environment where I was dismissed a lot. I felt like an outsider, which is totally, part of childhood, I guess. But also, I used to stutter quite a lot. And at some point, the I started being quiet to avoid judgment, and that silence became a story, and eventually that story became an identity. And to me, I felt like, what, nobody's going to listen to me, nobody cares about this. And I feel like that we sometimes not only perform for an audience, but we perform for the identities we carry about ourselves. And based on that, I wonder if how can we unhook from the need to perform to other people and to ourselves in order to connect with others. Because I think that the moment that we stop performing, rather to impress others or for our own safety internally, we start really making those connections.
Mm. So we actually share a very similar starting point in that where for me it was some of it's stuttering and it still shows up sometimes now. For me it was very much mumbling, just putting a lot of words together. I love to think quickly, and so I relate to that where I want to speak quickly. And for me it was very much the words that get jumbled together and also a little bit of stuttering. And I know how the pain of that sometimes we're just either being bullied or just people just not giving you the credit that we feel we deserve. The identity portion is super spot on because I think really us as people, as humans, I really believe that we're somewhere between 10 and 20% intellectual, logical beings and 80, if not 90% emotional beings. And the identity isn't just a label. We think it resides in that top 10% as far as, oh, I'm a project manager, oh, I'm CEO, oh, I'm a a minority business owner, right? I mean, these are all labels that
Or I'm a mom.
I'm
I'm
a
a
mom,
student.
right?
So yeah.
And this is, I mean, these are very important labels. They're great. They do help in a sense. It's like the world responding to us and how we see ourselves. I think that's important. But what it really is, it's almost, I mean, it sounds a little, but it's like an energy, it's like an energy vibration level. Like from what I've come to see that where you see yourself at is what you're going to live out as. This is why self-talk is so important. For me, I mean, the clearest example of as far as breaking it or going to a different, changing that shift, I am not a runner. But when I turned 31, I'd always had it just somewhere in the distance of my mind to run a marathon. And keep in mind, this is me. The most I've ever run before was maybe 2 miles. And I've always been okay at sports, but very much averse to them. But it almost was a thing where I had to make the decision first, and then the life followed, or like the routine followed. So I just said, you know what? I signed up for the marathon on a whim, like for like June or July, and it was like February. And then I just started researching, and just started going out, going on runs, and it was a thing where slowly but surely, because I was, other people would ask why you're running so much. Oh, I'm training for a marathon. Okay, now my mindset is that, oh, I'm training for a marathon. That's my identity right now. And that allowed me to kind of push further into it until I became a runner, until I became someone who did these things. And it is a thing where almost if we want to become a person that's a little more outgoing, want to become a person that's a better public speaker, can be more social, you do just have to take those steps in that direction, but just small steps at a time until you can almost convince yourself, oh wait, this is who I am. It also helps to just, I mean, for me, this is like a mirror trick, is either in a mirror or on your phone, something you look at every single day. In the mirror in the bathroom for me, I would actually put post-it notes of just marathon, counting down the days or 10 miles, because I think a lot of it is competence from competence then evolves confidence, or confidence comes from competence, another way to say that. And by slowly showing to yourself that you are making even incremental progress, you gain more confidence in that direction.
It's interesting. It's very fascinating because I've been experimenting with myself, trying to change my mindset around a lot of things. It's funny because I used to mumble a lot, but my mumbling came from trying to speak too fast to have these words pushing the ones that I started, so just pushing,
Yeah.
just pushing them out. And even when I'm giving a presentation, I need to slow down. I need to do this, but based on that, I used to feel like an introvert. Like I was introverted, shy, socially anxious, and then being in group settings, like, okay, this is not me. And the more I told myself that, the more my brain was showing me, yes, you're not this. I cannot connect with people. Okay, that's what you believe. Let me go show you the evidence that you cannot connect with people. And it took me a while to start changing the mindset. And we wanted to feel confidence before taking action, but action precedes confidence. Once you start taking the action, you start feeling like, okay, now I'm proving to myself, I'm stacking those evidence. One of my biggest problems or issues in the past have been, I'm here, step one. I want to be a step 10 now. Taking these small steps, like, it feels very frustrating to me. It's like too small. And for the running thing, because I also run, but I didn't run before. My journey started at 30. Actually, I'm 30 going to the 34. Uh, so we start at 30, and I started running because I needed to cope with depression. And to me, I found, okay, I guess this works for me. But I never imagined myself. I remember a year or two prior to that, I would have a friend of mine saying that they were running a half or a full. To me, it's like, brother, that would be insane. I would have never imagined me running. I think the most I've run is like 10K
Yeah, yeah.
years and years ago. And somehow I start running for a reason of, hey, I'm coping. And then you know what? I might run a half, and then I run half, and then I run a full. It's like, okay, I guess I'm a runner now.
That's awesome.
But when it comes to identities, I never identify myself as a runner. I never identify myself as a podcaster. And this is the interesting part that I wanted to share with you is that for me, I felt that those things could be taken away from me. Anything outside, if I identify as a doctor and you say I'm a doctor and then I lose my license, well, then I'm not a doctor anymore. Then my whole being just crashes down because identity is so important, as you said, and it has to come from you need like to find something stronger to hold that identity. And to me, as being okay, I'm a highly curious person who loves asking questions, who loves having conversations. But that took time to I guess develop it to some extent. And to me, it's fascinating talking to you because you have gone through your own journey. And I wonder what your mindset was when you were hitting bumps along the way, and not whether it's in your career as a magician that could be hard at the beginning, because even though it might seem like something that you were passionate about at the beginning, maybe when you were a kid and you practice a lot, then how can you take that professionally? Or even when you used to mumble and speak too fast, how do I become a speaker when I have all these limiting beliefs or even behaviors that I need to change? How was the mindset? How was the whole process of you overcoming those and to be the person who you are today?
Awesome. Well, first off, thank you for being so honest and transparent with almost using the depression as like a fuel
Yeah.
to run, right? Or as a way to kind of work through that. Because I think it's so interesting. I would actually add to that saying that maybe one of the reasons where you said you sometimes felt that you couldn't hold on to those identities as far as runner or podcaster initially. Is that right? Or
Even till this day, I'm somebody who runs. I'm not a runner. I'm somebody who does podcasting. I'm not a podcaster. Kind of like, yeah,
okay,
kind of like
yeah,
that.
yeah. 'Cause yeah, it's I agree a lot with the idea that action comes first and then the feeling or like the mental whatever state follows after. There's also something interesting too as far as not being defined by the outside world, but by the inner world, right? So if you in your heart are a runner, even if you're in a wheelchair, that and like because you're injured or something, you're still a runner. I mean, like that's still I think a mindset. It's almost something like I think it's a great example. If I'm a doctor and my license is taken away, I would say I'm still a doctor. I have all the know-how and everything. This was a big thing for us as far as like the podcast I run and my brothers and growing up where we well, at least for me, for example, I never went officially to film school, but I spent so much time behind a camera and so much time editing that I became an editor and I became a director or writer for these short films and videos. But it's almost at least I pay a lot more. My bias is I pay so much more value towards someone that does it instead of someone that gets like the paper behind it. And that's I would say I almost have like a PhD, for example, in rhetoric, psychology, or performance, but I can't go to a school and get that necessarily for magic, right? There's no official magic school. There are small magic schools and workshops, but not like an official PhD, right? Um, and for me, coming from that background as far as mumbling, stuttering, I'd always been outgoing, but there was always this weird balance of not being able to really communicate clearly what I wanted. I started magic when I was 7, 8 years old with my father. He showed me magic, like, and we did it for a Christmas Eve party. And magic, I think one of the reasons why not that many people do it is it really is a very difficult art form. If you're doing music or if you're doing theater or these different performances, the barrier for excellence is actually, I think, wider than for magic. Because specifically in magic, the general consensus is people want you to fail. People are trying to actively figure out how you're doing something. If you watch a movie, you just think of whatever your favorite movie may be. You can find, let's say, The Notebook, right? They're like, and this movie brings you to tears, right? You have an emotional reaction to it. But the reality is that these two people are actors. They're not really, these people that you imagine them to be. They're not really even like under rain. Like they're shooting like a rain machine under it so they can be soaked in rain. They're not really in whatever, the 1900s, whatever the time period is. Like all of it is just lies upon lies upon lies, but it makes you feel something very real. But when you watch a movie, you're not saying every minute, ah, that's so fake, or, unless it's something very drastic. But the Overton window is larger. Whereas in Magic, if I ask so much, move a card in a slightly suspicious way, people are like, oh, he did something there, right? Like it's everyone's just actively looking for it, right? Now, thankfully, I've worked to use that in my performance and like feed off that energy. But Magic is incredibly difficult, I think, just as an art form because you face so much rejection. And those first 3 or 4 years of me starting, I would go up to random people in my local hometown. I remember the first time I went up, I was in a Fairview Park. I was like 12 years old, and I'd started really practicing magic. And my family and I went to the park at a deck of cards. I remember, it was just a sunny day, and I see a couple sitting on a bench. And it's me, with like I had a bucket hat on. I was like, like just the crazy style. It was just a different era. but I knew I wanted to show them magic because I wanted to be like David Blaine, and David Blaine had done the street magic. So I go up and I just say, "I want to see some magic," and they're like, "What?" And I was like, I had to take a breath. Do you want to see some magic? And like, sure, okay. They're just confused by it. I did the show, did my tricks, and at the end, they're like, that was actually really good. Here's $5. Like they actually threw me a tip, and I was like, what? Like mind blown. And honestly, had that first interaction gone worse, I don't know if I would still be here today because at that point, especially like my ego and my self-esteem was very dependent on other people. But in magic, it's just consistently facing the rejection, consistently messing up in front of people, rehearsing, rehearsing, rehearsing. There's a great quote that people are rewarded in public for their efforts in private, and that has been so real to me. But I mean, it's a lot of time that people don't see. I play guitar as well, and it's a very similar connection. For example, of lead solo guitarists, where to get that good at guitar, you have to spend a lot of time on your own, away from society, in your room practicing so you can shine on stage. And the same thing with magic. But it's been a thing where nothing but I would say the streets has taught me the most, but people it really what it really comes down to, and just being open to learn.
I love that story. It's fascinating because that relates to something that I've been sort of struggling with, and I think a lot of people struggle with without realizing it. You face a lot of rejection and failure at the beginning, right?
Even now, still it doesn't end.
Fair, fair. But I would say that back then you were inexperienced in rejection. I would say, and it came to one thing that I've come to realize, at least for myself, and I've seen other people having the same issue problem, is that we tend unconsciously to attach our self worth to our ability to do things. If we are not good at something, or if we put something out there, well, the only thing that we can control is the actions we take. In your case, hey, let me approach you and ask you if you want to see magic. The other thing that you can control is the actually magic tree. Whether they like them or not, you cannot control that. Maybe they hate it. And one thing that I've been trying to overcome is the emotional charge that that takes on me. When I put something out there and it doesn't perform well, people don't like it, people criticize and mock it, whatever the case may be. It's not that I take it personally, but it's almost like it hurts to a core that my brain sort of files it in in a just to have the proof. See, that's why we don't speak up. That's why we don't show up. That's why we don't put anything out there because this happens. We get rejected, and that is so hard because I don't. Many people don't even try anything new because we want to be good right from the get go, or at least decent. So we want to be wrong about our self worth. We feel that we're not enough and we really want to be wrong. But when we face rejection here and we face something failures there, we right away see, I knew it. How were you able, if you even remember, because maybe you were wired differently, how were you able to overcome those parts and not attach your self worth to all the rejections and not take it personally to the degree to what your personal worth rather than, hey, it's just part of life?
Yeah, great breakdown. I have two good examples for this. The first thing that I want to say is that it's simple, but it's not easy. I mean, and most things. I mean, most people think, "Oh, I need this special trick." No, like it's almost just the simple fundamentals, but people almost never do the simple fundamentals. And the simple fundamental or thing to understand is who I am is just who I say I am and my value. It's not based on my boss. It's not based off the cute girl at the bar. It's not based off of my brother or my friends. Like I so much I think of, at least for me, what the game of life is developing as a person and being okay. Like if you can be okay with yourself for an hour quiet in a room, I think you've made a lot of great progress. And I think especially with technology and everything, we just have so many distractions that we rarely spend time with just ourselves, like truly, and accepting ourselves and for all our pros and cons that we each have. For me, the two best examples, both because I was not wired differently, as we all might say. I may act crazy now, but that's just like this is the trajectory my life turned. If anything, I just had the spirit of curiosity, but the spirit of curiosity was stronger than the pain of rejection. That'd be the only thing I would say. So the two best examples for the past 3 years while I was here in Austin, I held a street magic series, which is on Rainy Street and on 6th Street and also West 6th, but primarily Rainy Street, I would go and set up a table from, maybe let's say Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes on Sunday, from like 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. Those are like the longest hours, right? So 10, 12-hour shifts on like the best days. Most times it would be about maybe at least 8 hours just out there. And every week I would just keep refining the show. Like I would ask for tips, and the money I would get, I would keep using to throw back into this like this side project business. But let's just kind of walk through that. So initially, it's just even having, the balls, the confidence to even just put a table up on Rainy Street because I didn't know if it was legal or not, right?
Yeah.
Right. I just put it up. I did check, by the way, you actually can do it. Austin's actually very performer friendly, as long as you stay within like the sidewalk and everything. Um, so I set up my first table. I had an LED light, and I made maybe $70 the first day, just doing magic for a couple hours. And I recognized, okay, there might be something here. Now, the way that this worked, once I got the thing going, is I would put up two signs that say free magic show on either side. I'd have a table, two ring lights. I could do a whole podcast just on the setup and everything, but the main takeaway is hundreds of people would walk by, and my only responsibility was to make the invitation, to almost like, sit out the lure. Say, hey, magic show, come check it out, right? And legit, I mean, it would almost sound like a record on repeat. One person walks by, hey, come check out the magic show. Hey, yo, I love your shoe. Hey, grab a card, right? Still no, right? I mean, this would go on oftentimes 30 or 40 times in a row, right? Where people walk by. And keep in mind, I'm a professional magician. Like, I mean, I do this at the highest level. And, but people, they actually did an experiment like this several years ago. You can find this on YouTube, where they found I don't know if he was a Grammy award winning, but he was an award winning violinist, right? First chair for like the maybe New York Symphony Orchestra. And they had him just play his violin at the subway, right? Like in the New York subway, and no one stops. Like no one cares. Yet the night before, he, sold out crazy tickets to his performance. And I think a big thing for me has just been understanding human nature, understanding that no matter if you had the worst person at your show, the next person, it's not their fault for that. And having empathy and forgiveness and compassion for human beings, not to just allow whatever behavior, but just understanding that that next person is almost a fresh start, both for them and for me. Yes.
Wow. When you were describing setting up your table, talking to people like a broken breaker, and no one paying attention to you, sounded like my worst nightmare. My worst nightmare. So it's funny because even when I reach out to guests on the podcast, right, probably I get 75% no and 25% yes at the beginning, which I understand. I get it. It's not as big. It's kind of small. It's still growing. People don't really know me, and for most podcasts, they don't have if they're small, what many people tend to think is like, well, the conversations are going to be great. Why I can invest my time doing something else. And I get that. I truly, truly get that. I understand. It's part of the process. But even though 7, 8 times out of 10 is hard, and I'm just sending out an email, that's it, or just a DM. And I've had people that we were booked, and I'm in front of the camera waiting, and I get a text message, hey, we're not gonna be able to make it, let's reschedule, and they boom, ghost, disappear. And it's been hard for me to, okay, I understand, I get it, it's part, once again, part of the process. But setting up a table and just, I would feel so self-conscious, and I guess that is the mindset what I'm trying to get to, that okay, those people who just pass by and say no, now these people are gonna see me keep trying again and again and again. That it would be so, I would be so embarrassed of myself. It would be so hard. But as you said, we tend to forget after 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Going back to your point that we're too distracted, and people, we are, especially with our phones, our laptops, TV, or social media, we're so bombarded with information that something that might have happened 10 minutes ago, even if it was crazy, we tend to forget. How were you able, if you can remember, or if you had any techniques to regulate your nervous system every time that your ego, I want to trying to say ego is not okay, somebody has a
Oh
fragile
yeah,
ego,
yeah.
but for the audiences, the part of you that is trying to protect you from any kind of danger, for a nervous system thinks that everything is dangerous out there, everything is a threat, and this is a threat against your identity. In the thousands of years ago, that would have been, we would have been outcasted, and that would have been death. And I say that, how were you able to just regulate and to control it, and keep your composure when you face so much rejection, whether when you were a kid or even these past few years when you are outside on a table and a lot of people are saying no?
I'll give you two answers. First, for that first portion with the emails, reaching out. One of the things I do for my magic business is do email outreach, which is where I data farm, like it may be event managers, it may be event coordinators across the country, across different states, and send out email blasts, normally 300 at a time. So I'm getting no 299 emails that say no or don't respond, and maybe one that says, let's talk, right? Part of it, and this is just, I think I've there's a version of the world where I wish the world was this way, where people didn't reject so much or just didn't do it. But this is just the world we're in. And my perspective as a pragmatist is always in figuring, okay, well, this is the world we're in. How do we actually navigate best through it? Obviously, we can always strive for a better world, but unfortunately, this is, especially if you read history, this is how it's always been for a long, long time, and how it will probably be for thousands of years in the future. So first, it's just kind of just accepting rejection, and also understanding it's not really anything personal. Because moving to the second answer, when I'm on the street, I'm just a random guy on the street with this, because it's crazy. It was especially crazy on the videos. Just you're on the bar, so you see like magic show, like what? Some people think it's a scam. People walk by, say that's fake. That's not real. You suck. It's just what did I do to you? And just randomly, just people can be mean. And some, especially people are drinking at that time too. The aggression comes out, the anger. So that's just kind of setting the tone. One thing, and this is something I've wanted to do for a long time, but have not actually done it, but I will do now because of this podcast, is I wanted to write a whole book, but what I'll do is I'm going to put together a 10 list lessons from Rainy Street as a PDF, and I'll share it for you and your viewers so they can follow it and they can download it. But let me just share a couple of the lessons I learned from Rainy Street. The first one is that every day you start at zero, which means that no matter um, so for example, no matter how great the show was yesterday or how much I made, the moment I set the table up, I'm at zero again that day. And it can even be taken that after every interaction, I'm at zero once again because I have to earn essentially the right or the attention of someone and then hopefully earn a good tip. Because you have to first catch someone's attention in a crazy busy street, get them to stop, show magic, hopefully show good magic, get them to tip, then get them to tip well, and then repeat like once and over. So it's very much like sales, and I mean, there's a Musashi, the gentleman who wrote The Art of War. Once you see the way in one thing, you'll see the way in all things. So no joke, sales, magic, dating, all have a very common thing with like this law of numbers that you have to really cast a wide net sometimes and get no, 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 no until you get the yes. Um, and for me, that lesson of starting for no is one. The other is, I kind of mentioned it briefly, but it's no one's fault as far as like the rudeness or that aspect. It is if they, take that step further, but almost like that first step, that's just like human nature. And then, okay, we move on. And I would say another one would just be just the gratitude, just being grateful for people that the people who do stop, they made my night so many times. They made so many incredible memories. And hearing from people say, "Oh, this was the best thing." Like I'm visiting Austin this weekend. This was the last thing. This was the best thing we did. Like that makes it all worthwhile. Yeah. So hopefully that can help answer some of those questions. Oh, sorry. One last thing about the ego.
Yes.
About the ego. This is a big, big one. So, I have had an insane relationship with ego because for me, my ego skyrocketed and blew through the roof when I was at the University of North Texas. When I was 20, 21, I was the first Latino student body president, which is a huge achievement. I think it was fantastic. I also served on the board of regents as a student regent, and I was president of a bunch of things. I was just, popular guy on campus. However, my ego was through the roof, right? And this was not a good thing. Immediately after, I go to a monastery in Colombia for 3 months and to study to be a priest. And so that completely destroyed my ego. So I went from the highest of the highs to the lowest of the lows. And since then, it's been a battle of at least 10 years, more of a growth process of understanding that there is a healthy level of ego as far as understanding what I have to give to the world, my talents, my abilities, everything in there, but also that this does not entitle me to anything. It doesn't mean that I'm owed anything. It simply means that I'm not better than anyone as well, but I come from it from a place of sharing. And if I can genuinely come from that aspect of I have something here to share, this is my perspective on life, and my art form is through magic, If people appreciate it or not, that's up to them. My duty is to just share it.
Yeah, it's just very. I'm trying to have so many thoughts
Please, please, please. Yeah.
in my head at the moment because here's the thing. I love what you're saying, absolutely, and I know that I probably see it this way, and a lot of people see it that way as well. Yeah, yes, what Rudy is saying makes a ton of sense. Yes. By the way, you said it, just early on. Things are simple but very very hard because we're basically fighting the emotions. We're basically fighting our nervous system, and every time it's like, well, if we it's always trying to me it's trying to find an easier way to work with myself and my nervous system rather than white knuckle my way through life to some extent. But just even having that mindset of, you know what, I'm just here to serve, I'm just here to give. If people take it, great. If not, that's I cannot control that. That mindset in a lot of cases makes a ton of sense. It's similar to me, but when you're in the act to carry on and to really embody and to just be okay with the results, even though you were I knew that it was happening and it happened, and yet I'm not gonna freak out. It's the same way when years ago when I was trying to be more social. In my head, I would think, hey, they're just humans. I'm just having a conversation with anybody, guy or girl, whatever. Just I'm trying to make connections and trying to be more social because I was very, very, very antisocial. When I say very antisocial, I could be social with a certain group of people if I could click quickly. And in my head, it's like, it's no big deal. They're humans. We all want the same thing. And I would just go to an event playing pickleball, playing other things, running. The moment that I would step out of the car and start walking towards a group of people, I would just freeze. Now, I've been priming my brain all this time to feel, hey, it's not a big deal. It's like they're just people. By the time I got there, it's like, nope, can't do it. It would just I would just freeze. I would go blank. I would freak out. Say, okay, I'm just gonna be around people, but I wouldn't interact with people unless somebody approaches me. So that is something that I still trying to sort of master. And I guess in your case, when you say the more that you talk to yourself, the more your body listens and starts believing that it's actually true, but you also have to have those small steps. But one thing that fascinates me about you and what you do for a living is as a speaker and as a magician, you have mastered the art of presence. It's just the attention and presence. And that's so hard nowadays. People are so distracted, whether they cannot be by themselves, as you said, trying to be in a room, no distraction whatsoever, with your thoughts. Either you're going to be super bored or you're going to freak out because all the things in your mind. What can magicians teach us about being more present, being more connected, and more human in everyday communication?
All right. So first, I do want to say I commend you for the journey you've gone. I mean, if you had a point in your life where you're almost frozen, just the freeze reaction before even going to play pickleball, and now you're here doing pot like that. That's huge. So I want to just recognize the value of that. And I think you almost inadvertently gave a great tip there, where make the steps smaller instead of just going to play pickleball. Okay, I'm just going to be around people. And I think that is the missing point. That's the easiest thing to do this. People want to be incredible, keynote speakers. Yes, but just give like a 2-minute speech in your mirror. Like just something, just say hello to the postman or whatever it is. Like just start with the smallest version of it and then work your way up, right? Another thing too is I maybe have not properly um, communicated how also pain wrecking and intense that street magic session was. I mean, the mental battle of this was wild because I would go through highs and very low lows where, you know, I would do magic for 10 minutes and, make a good amount of tips, but then it'd be a dry spell for 2 or 3 hours in the burning sun of Austin. I'm just there looking like an idiot, right? Like, who is this guy? I say, hey, magic, no, magic, no, magic, no, right? Especially, cool guys, pretty girls. Like, I mean, like, my social value is going down. They're like, who is this nerd here, right? But another lesson from Rainy Street is that the street always provides, or the universe always provides, if you are out there. It won't provide if you're at home, like, but it will provide if you're out and about. But it very much became a mental marathon that like it was never easy, but I was able to become stronger through it. So I just wanted to move that. Now, as far as The thing that magicians can teach us in everyday conversation or just actual applicable things, especially the idea of presence. One of the key things that people misunderstand about magic, some people think that magic's, oh, look at this, right? Look at this over here while this is happening. No, a truly great magician has a lot of empathy for their audience. My main thing, and while I'm performing, like awareness wise, I want to get the trick, the mechanics down so well that I don't have to think about that, so that I can free my mind up to how do I deliver this properly and present it properly if it's just for you, if we're with several other people, if it's a dinner table versus on stage, if I'm with strangers or if I'm with CEOs. The magic has to be tailored to the audience. And the only way to do it, what distinguishes a good magician from a great magician, I think, is someone who can really let myself go and I can put myself in your shoes, okay? Not just logistically, because the angle of what you're watching the trick as will affect how I present it. If there's, something hidden here, I have to make sure that you don't get a glimpse of it. So that's one practical thing. But then the other version, this is why I've been so fortunate in traveling around and everything, is culturally, right? Like different cultures performing at a university, different from a kid's birthday party versus if I'm in Germany and Oktoberfest, right? Like every aspect is a different thing. But the only way I can really succeed in that endeavor is if I can let go of myself, let go of my ego and say, okay, how are they responding to it? Are they having a great time? What does this person think? Can I anticipate a little bit? What trick would they like to see the most? It's something like that. I worked in hotels for a long time, and a big thing that they taught us was the idea of hospitality. Of can you give the guest what they need before they even know they need it? If they mention, "Oh yeah, it was a long drive. Hey, can I get you a bottle of water to freshen up?" Right? Just whatever that may be. And in magic, I've taken that same idea because to me, I believe that the audience is number one. Like I'm here to give them the best time, and if I have to, go running about and do my thing, I will do that for the audience.
Interesting. Yeah, I can tell because you have to being a magician is just a lot harder than being even a communicator and a speaker because you can lose the attention like this very very quickly, and you have to increase put some sort of being not only persuasive but be intriguing, even add some storytelling in between just to. I don't know if you have seen any changes between back in the day and now, how people are way more distracted, and you might have to put a lot more effort to just keep, hey, look at this, right? Is it just, I, one thing that I've even, and this is kind of like a kind of person to just admit and recognize, but now it is even harder for me to sit, even watching Netflix for an episode or so of a show, 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, I'm just reaching for my phone. I'm just so wired to, even though I don't get any text message, nothing. I just need that that stimulus to some extent. So that I just wanted to know a little bit more about those differences, but I also want to understand something better because I think that this will help a lot of people. Definitely going to help me. So it's kind of maybe a selfish
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. Please, please.
What is one thing that people misunderstand about persuasive and effective communication? Because I think people trying to, you need to see my point. So I'm going to just push it through, and we are not being persuasive at all. It's like, how can somebody be smarter about, okay, if I want to get Rudy on my side and on the same page, what what am I missing that is affecting the effectiveness of my communication?
Great question. One of the best things I like to compare this to is Defense Against the Dark Arts, right, from Harry Potter, because it's the idea of to learn the dark arts, you have to sorry to defend against the dark arts, you have to learn how to you have to learn the dark arts. And for me, I majored at the University of North Texas in rhetoric, and this is rhetoric gets a bad rap. Some people just say it's manipulation. Some people say it's politics. Some people say it's all sorts of things. The way I define rhetoric is simply your choice of words, tone, speech patterns. It's everything that goes into the presentation, but also yourself. So how you dress, how you carry yourself, everything that I'm very much a detail-oriented person. I believe that every little thing affects the overall message. When it comes to persuasion and in some aspects manipulation, right? Because in magic, another quote for a magician is, a magician is someone who gets you to see the world how they see it for just an instant. Because so much, and I'll share some magic here later, it is this weird thing that magic shows us that what I'm doing is I'm almost like guiding our human nature senses and showing that, hey, in this equation, 2 plus 2 does not equal 4. And it's creating, I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4 of a setup, and then it's a surprise at the end, right? Like, oh, you see an empty hat, but wait, there was a bunny in there the whole time, right? But that's a very classic example. But if all my senses are showing the hat is empty, I see the hat, I hold it in my hand, how can I not trust my five senses? The crazy question that or asks is, if you can't trust what you're seeing and what you're experiencing, how do you know anything is real at all? Right? That's like the big, Now, as far as one of the best tools to persuade someone or to hopefully like end on a compromise is a lot of people believe that they have to do a lot. Or have to figure out, okay, I have to craft the perfect argument. That's not the right starting point. And this is actually something I learned from Chris Voss, who was, I believe, an FBI hostage negotiator. He has a great book. I think it's called Splitting the Difference.
Never split the difference. Yeah.
Never split the difference, right? Now, this technique, again, simple but not easy. And most people, the biggest thing is most people cannot put their egos aside to do this, especially in a heated argument. If we're arguing over the color of this table, it's like, and I think this table is green, and you're like, no, this table's brown. It's not going to work against me. No, it's this type of shade of green. No, this green is actually, no, your light's just getting the right thing. I can make all sorts of arguments to try and improve it, but what will really change it is if I say, okay, now just so I can understand correctly, you're saying that this table is here and that this table is brown. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah. So assuming in this hypothetical, right. And for Chris Voss, once you get them to say, "Oh, that's right," or "I explained your position correctly," now we're at the actual table now, because what tends to happen, and what I felt in arguments too, is that people don't take the time to really listen. I mean, how many times in relationship arguments do you hear, "You're not even listening to what I'm saying," right? And I think we can get so caught up in what we want to persuade or what we're saying that if we can take a moment, okay, let's step back. What exactly are you saying? Can I express what you want or what you're looking for or your perspective in your own words? Okay, now we can work from there. And that's like it sounds simple, but it is hugely effective.
Yeah. By the way, I love that book. I read it a couple of times. Yes, I think that what you mentioned there is true. I think people listen to respond, not to understand. When you're talking, I'm already just creating the argument because I'm just going to take down yours. And we're like, okay, we're not, communicating with each other. But one thing I've learned, and this is from painful lessons, painful lessons, is that when you have an argument, especially if you're with your partner, let's say that you have an argument with your partner the night before, and then you come the next day and you're both going to talk about it, say, hey, let's just figure things out. One thing that you will realize is like the way that her brain narrated that event to her and the way that your brain narrated that event to you, completely different. So you guys are talking about two different things about the same event, but from two different angles, two different experiences. And obviously you're talking about different topics. Okay, obviously you're not listening to me because you're not saying anything that I'm saying. So one thing I've learned and I guess just thought about is like people like they like empathy in a sense of let me try to understand how Rudy sees the world, right? Because we're completely different lenses, and it's not about okay, how does he feel or how does she feel? No, let me truly at least make the effort to understand, or as Chris Foss said, like mirroring, and then you just repeating back those. I think that is a key. But I like what you said. It's like, yes, a lot of things in life are simple but hard because we have that ego that it just wants we are going to protect our ground regardless. Like, we cannot do anything else. But yeah, it's just, it's unbelievable.
And just to add to that, and pride. I mean, pride gets in the way so much. I mean, no one wants to admit that they're wrong, especially. I mean, I've been arguing before. It's like, oh, maybe I did mess up, right? And just like you said, most people are in that state where they're listening only to respond. And finally, that's why I think it's so important to just do the self work, to take a moment to be introspective, because it's hard to do that in that moment, right? This is why I think it's always great, for my friends that are in relationships, like I always advise, figure out before you have an argument how you're going to argue, because the best way to talk about that is before you have an argument, not while you're arguing.
No, because when you're arguing, you're not thinking clearly. You're just like you're emotional. You basically have two children just going at each other, and clearly that doesn't work. One thing I wanted to I think I guess I lost you said something and something came to my mind. It's like, yes, but then you went away. Crap.
Take a moment. Take a moment. Take a moment.
And I'm trying to remember exactly what you said. You said something about the arguments, listening.
Putting your ego aside. Can
Yeah,
you can you?
bingo. Yeah, people don't want to be wrong. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, one thing that what I've realized, and I've played this, I've used my ego to my advantage in that sense. Imagine that you and I are talking, and to me, my perception of your perception of me is like it's how you see me, basically.
Right. Right.
How
Right.
you see me is like maybe Rudy see me as a character, not as a person. Let's say a 7 out of 10, right? The moment that I say something and you call me out, I say, "Hey, you're wrong there." In my mind, I'm losing value into your eyes. That's what my brain is telling me. So, oh well, so Rudy calls me out. That means I'm wrong. I'm less valuable in society now. If he sees me as a 7 out of 10, now he sees me a 5 out of 10 or 4 out of 10. But paradoxically, if you say, you know, Rudy, actually, you make a ton of sense. Thank you for pointing that out. Now I know better. Now I understand things better, and thank you for giving me that knowledge. That now I'm not gonna be ignorant in that regard. By me accepting that I was wrong, by me recognizing and appreciating your uh, take or your input, now in your mind, if I was truly a 7 out of 10, now I go to 8 or 9 out of 10 because say, holy shit, this guy's really like it's he's very confident on himself because he's fine by being wrong. So by tricking my mind, because we all gonna have that reaction of shit, I'm wrong, I don't want to be wrong, I'm gonna argue back. So yeah, I mean it's fascinating. We can keep talking for a while, and we're gonna
Just real quick on that. No, you're so right because yeah, the initial instinct if you call me out for something is like, oh man, like I'm wrong or something. But what's kind of crazy is that yeah, if I can put my ego aside, have the humility to accept criticism or feedback and say, okay, maybe that is a fair criticism, then that would hopefully speak to your character a lot more and how you take that feedback. Yeah.
for sure. And I think that if we can just become aware of the moment, like hold on, wait a minute, right, and do that, people are gonna see it in a different way. I have a closing question, and then we're gonna definitely do a magic trick because I cannot let you go without a magic
Yes.
trick.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But as a closing question, if someone listening feels stuck behind a silent belief that they're not good enough to be heard, what is the first internal shift they need to make to rewrite the story?
I wish I had a magical wand that would do this. But I think the reality is that it's actually much closer than people feel. And I know it's tough because it feels like it's the end of the world. It feels like no one's listening. But this is where I think great art comes into play. And by art, I say video games, movies, books, music, is to first find something, because we all have it, something that we love. It can be, for me, it's video games growing up. So I'm just going to use my favorite video game, Final Fantasy X. I nerd out on that game. It's a great game. First, by having something that you love, that you could talk for hours and hours about. That is that first starting, because it's the easiest. It's really just easy because you don't have to do any research. You already know why you love it. A suggestion I use for people that want to take that first step, that maybe feel, okay, maybe I'm not as expressive as I would like to be, or not getting the communication reach I would like to, just put your phone up. You don't have to put the video on. You could just do a voice memo if you like. But just for 30 seconds, talk about why you love something. This could be a cat. This could be your pet, your family, a friend, a movie you saw, food you had. Just for 30 seconds, just own your little memo. Just, today I actually, and I really like that, like, the rice was this way, or whatever it may be. And make that first step. Cool, save it. Then try it again. Try and go for a minute now. And then just keep slowly building. But I just really want to dial in. Just do the first step first. Just find something you love and just record a 30-second video or audio message to yourself about why you love it. And then do it again and just keep repeating and try to be freer each time. I think the best example I can give to people as far as how do you actually really level up as a speaker, yes, it's important to do the fundamentals. Yes, it's important to working rate of speech, tone, and all that. But on a person basis, right? To be a better speaker, you have to be a better person. And I think the best analogy is the hot air balloon analogy, where for most of the time, a hot air balloon goes up with fire and it's way down with weights. You can try and blast that fire, as much as you want, but if the weights are weighing it down, you're gonna need a lot of fire to keep go where you want to go. Instead, if you can learn from yourself, take the introspection to let go of a lot of these things, like these limiting beliefs, how we talk about ourselves, right? Like the so much of the weight we put on ourselves, the pressure and the responsibility. Just gotta let that go, even for just a little bit. Then you just need a little bit of fire, and that balloon shoots right up. So that's the closest analogy I can make to speaking, to just being hopefully a better person. And I think, but it is a journey. It's not an easy journey, but it is a simple one. And so I hope I can leave people with an inspiring message that you just have to take a very small step today. You don't have to take this huge, TED Talk level step. Just take the smallest step possible, and you'll find the magic in your life.
I love it. I love it. It just, and that is like very, it's funny because it should come intuitively. It's like, hey, if I want to, if I want my voice to be heard, let me just talk about the things that I love, because now I'm confident in that. But I don't know, we tend to overthink, and we try to make everything more complicated than it is. So
Same,
I love
same.
that. Yeah, let's do some
Yeah,
magic
I
then.
got some magic for you. So little closing trick here for you. Right. So I have here a deck of cards. I'm going to do a card trick for you, and then we'll do something extra special here. All right, Daniel, can you please? I'll show this to the camera here first. Okay. Can you please grab a card, and we can see this. We can see this. Oh, I just realized I shuffled them face up and face down. Could you write something on it? Maybe the name of the podcast, or your name, whatever you would like. Have some fun. I'm gonna.
Do you have to see it or not?
We can see it. We can see
Ah,
it,
we both can
and
see it.
you can
Okay.
show the camera as well, and our viewers at home.
So the card right there. Well, there, here's the, there you go.
So with the Ace of Clubs, great choice. Great
I will
choice.
write the name of the podcast.
I don't know. I wonder if I'm the first magician here on the show, but we'll have some
Yeah,
fun.
for sure. My bad handwriting, but Redefining wisdom. There you go.
I love it. Fantastic. So we'll do it for this one here. We'll do it for the middle cam. So Ace of Clubs. Daniel, could you please hold your hand out just like that? Ace of Clubs, you have it signed. Can you please put your other hand on top like a sandwich? Now I'm going to try and do this so that everyone can see. Let me see if we get that about there. I'll do it in my camera too. Here we go.
Come on now. Come on now. What are we doing?
Yo. Okay, okay, not bad. We got the Ace of Clubs. Daniel, I'm not going to touch it. You signed it, so you know there's only
Yes.
one
Yeah.
like this in the world. Could you please push it back inside?
Yeah. What are we doing, man? What are we doing? No, come on.
Let me do one last one. We got the Ace of Clubs. This time, could you hold your hand out one more time, please? And put your other hand on top like a sandwich. Here we go. So first, if I'm lucky, I'll grab this, all right? Well, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Come on. See,
Yeah.
and I'm right here. I'm trying to figure it out. I've just
Right? Let me do one last thing. We'll do one last thing here. I just have a piece of paper here. So I need you just to think of something from your childhood, please. Just something from your childhood. This could be a movie. This could be a book. Just something I could not know. So
okay.
I mean, think about that, please. Do not say it. I'm gonna see if maybe I'll show. Okay, I'm gonna write it down here so we can
Yes.
see. Okay, I'm gonna go through the alphabet first. A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S. You looked on the Q R S. T U V W X. Blinked on W Y Z. I think. Okay, this. Oh man, this may be way off. Okay, I fucking. Okay, keep thinking about it. Okay, so. Okay, you haven't said this to anyone. This has been in your mind the whole time. Um, there's no way I could know this.
True.
Okay, for the first time, can you say it out loud?
Harry Potter. Come nah, brother. Just for the people who are watching, he made me write 3 words: friendly, challenges, castle, and then anything from my childhood. I put Harry Potter. I put the date, and I kind of, I don't know how it works, but I know that throughout the conversation you drop a few things. I was trying to like, I was like, oh, I don't know about that. I'm trying to just keep myself like, hey, make no any. I mean, play it cool. But hey, I don't know how you did it. I have no idea, but here you are.
Yeah, and this is for you to keep. These are little souvenirs for you as a little thank you.
Rudy, where can people find you, work with you, whether if they want to book you for an event, whether as a speaker, as a magician, anything?
Awesome. Well, you can find me at rudyreyjr.com, and that's Ray, Reyjr, Rudy Ray Jr. Same thing on Instagram, TikTok, all of that. I'm available as a keynote speaker, and I also do communication workshops. So I help professionals improve their communication skills, whether it be in sales or presentations. And I'm also available to do walk around magic or stage magic for your next event.
Awesome. Once again, Rudy, it was a pleasure having you on and great conversation, man. I really enjoyed. And these magic tricks were just not fair,
Yeah.
not fair. But hey, here we are. I appreciate
Hey,
you.
thank you. I had a wonderful time.